Well, it is good to see everybody today.
Yeah.
Look at all your faces. We ready for this?
Yes.
Well,
May as well be.
I wanna
We're here.
thank you,
Yeah.
Coyote, for actually your timing was impeccable on that post this week.
You know, I haven't seen it yet. I got together with my son and his boyfriend, and then we had an issue, and he started calling me names, and so
Oh,
I didn't.
lovely. You know,
I'm like,
what would we do without child drama, right? Well, I don't know.
yeah.
Mine comes from my kitty cat. So
He said I should have never brought it up. That was
Oh.
transphobic. I'm like,
Well, I'm
really?
yeah, right. I'm going to assure you that if you brought it up, that it came from somewhere that got you've got beehives inside, and sometimes certain issues come along and they knock into that beehive, right?
Yeah.
And you get a little bit of a frenzy inside, and that turns into verbalizing or typing
I'm
it into
just
a
saying.
group. I'm glad
I
you
should
did.
have used. I should have used birth control. That's all I had.
Well, you know what? I'm so glad we're having this recorded, so your children can see this later.
Wow.
That's gonna be perfect. So,
Well, we made up, and he said we'll try again because they didn't go either. So it turned into a thing.
Good. Well, you know, these are the time. What is it? The timelines of our life, right?
So, Jay, can I ask the audience member ask a question? Like, what is
You can type it in
Oh, well, I just want to know what when y'all.
Am I allowed to be in this?
any minute. Yes. What? Somebody just say something. Am I allowed to be in this?
Get out of here, Melissa.
What you doing in there? How did we get Melissa in there? Did you get a panelist link? How did you get a panelist link?
She clicked another link.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you Michou's partner? Well, look at the look on Michou's face. Actually, you're not supposed to be on the screen, Melissa, but you're allowed to sit in. Yes, you are.
Hey, Michou, you did good. She's cute.
Look at Michou's face. Okay, so I just want to say, on this particular topic, y'all, the preserving of the the butch stud masculine of center identity it's been a whisper in the background for some time now, and I mean, I can count 2 decades ago when there was a little bit of a wave here and there within the community that started to express, where are all the butch stags going, and each time things like this would come up, we had the forums, and a lot of us would be in there, we'd bust out, and we would work through this by way of many threads, and talking things out. And 20 years later, we've got social media has got everybody spread out all over the place. The community is spread thin through a lot of channels, and it's tough to get everybody in one room, so to speak. So I'm hoping that by way of panel and uploading to YouTube, informational wise, we can still get this conversation out there. And through our group, our main group, there's potential for all these conversations going forward to have a pretty good amount of participation as well. This issue. Now, first, let me just introduce myself. Now that we've got everybody all settled in, for later purposes, my name is Daywalker. I am the admin and creator of the Butch Femme main group on Facebook, hashtag Bearded Butch, and my wife and I have been hosting the community for over 12 years, and there's 5 groups involved. So we're going to have a conversation, or 5 or 20, while we've got panels going. This has been my new thing. I can do a lot in that group, but I need to take it further. We need to escalate these conversations to the front. Doing that by a thread is not the same. You don't get a lot of the body language, the tone in the conversation. You get drive-by comments from strangers, that interrupt the entire process of the conversation. And distract everybody with sub replies. It gets crazy. With this, I've spoken to Al. I've spoken to Michou. I've spoken to several people actually over the last few years that are trying to navigate their way through all of the new identities, entering into the community and whatnot. At the same time, preserve their own, and that their own would be the preserving of your female identified lesbian, queer, butch, masculine, center stud selves, without watching folks try and make that a baby step to you're going to be a male any day, and one day you'll grow up and be a man, and it's like that's not the whole idea. We're allowed to present our masculinity. A male of our species doesn't own it, and it doesn't have a pronoun. And we've had pressure from inside and outside of the community to cover up some of the femaleness involved in our masculinity and go forward and commandeer the male aspects of it. I myself am agender. I don't actually identify or come at the world as male or female, but I do come at the world as the host to this community, and I listen, and the concerns need to be covered, and this concern, well, we'll just say it's been around for a while, and what I'd like to do is have each of you just take a minute to introduce yourself, let us know how you identify, and then I'm going to start a few questions. So, Michou?
Hello, everybody. My name is Michou Olivera. My pronouns are proudly she and her, and have been my entire life of 52 years old. I am a self-realization and psychedelic guide by my own trade, by my own asking of the powers that be, and also I am a cultivator at INSA East Hampton, which is Massachusetts' first dispensary that grows its own top-shelf cannabis. So to that. I've been Butch my entire life, and I'm extremely proud of that, and I'm happy to be here on this panel. I'm super honored to be here, and I'm happy to answer any questions fired my way, so feel free to fire away.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Al?
Hi, I'm Allison Werger. I go by Al. I'm 46 years old. I've been Butch the entire time I've been out, and probably before that as well. Came out when I was 15. I'm a behavioral dog trainer. I do socialization training for dogs that have been abused.
And a choreographer.
Yeah, and I'm a dance choreographer.
I'm sorry, that's important. That I love that. So, all right, Moon, let's hear from you.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm born and raised in San Diego. Right now I'm in National City, which is just part of San Diego County, but near the border. I'm 67, and I've been out since I was about 16 or 17, and I left home. But, I wanted to have children, so I did that, which was like, why? And then, but I've always identified as a child, I was a tomboy. And then when I discovered West Side Story, I thought completely related to anybody's. And so over the years, that's been the one movie that I watched a million times, and anybody's always inspired me. So anyway, that's my story. I got 2 kids. I ride a Harley. I've been riding a parade, dykes and bikes since there was only 7 bikes. Been in San Francisco
awesome.
Pride, Dykes March leading off. Lost everybody in San Francisco, and they had to chase me down and tell me how to get to Market Street. But anyway, that's another story. Someone else mentioned they were in San Francisco, so I had to tell that story. Leading Dyke March into the lost realm. So yeah, that was important to me. And so when I brought it up, I had no idea it was going to turn into a huge thing. But that's my intro. I'm a cat person. I don't have a dog, and I that's it.
in all fairness, this
Oh.
was this panel was scheduled before your thread, so this isn't your fault. Okay.
Anyway,
So-
I'm retired from the energy business. I worked for Sempra Energy for 32 years, one of the only females in the power stations back then in the 70s. So of course, being a woman there, everyone thought you were gay, and most of the time it was true.
Oh yeah,
So most of the women that passed through there had to be tough enough to take that shit. So that's my history. I'm just retired. I'm retired. I'm also a trustee on the local library board, and I got them to put trans books in the library for children, and that turned into a thing.
Of course, it's going to turn into a thing.
Because National City is primarily Latino and Asian. And so the Latinos and Asians are sometimes pretty conservative, lots of churches and stuff. So
Yeah. Things
they
are
were like
tough. In certain cultures, make it really, really tough to feel gay every day. So yeah.
Like the children.
Yeah. What about the children? The children can be gay too. So Elandus, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here first. Thanks for inviting me. And I'm in Oregon, Eugene. Been here for about maybe 6 years. Grew up in Detroit. Came out later in life. I have daughters. I tried the straight and narrow. It was narrow. But I mean, I tried to fit in, let's put it that way. I did. And I was a butch from day one. I just didn't have access to identify with that energy that I had. So I am really, I have to say I'm honored to be in your company. And I'm also honored that you're interested in what I have to say, and I know that I'm very interested in what the energy and wisdom is here.
I'm honored to have you here. I know that through email, actually, you and I exchanged a couple of like profound ideals and whatnot, and I was immediately having a crush on you, those kind of crushes. Those are important crushes too. We gotta love on our fellows. And, And so I was honored to be invited to be a part of your podcast.
Yes.
And that was that's and so I want to say thank you, because that was my first time participating in one, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's. So
yeah. We're gonna have some fun. And
such a good job on that. I love listening to it. I think I will listen at least twice.
So I wanted for those who are maybe watching along, I wanted to read through the description of this particular discussion. And because where it roots from, especially with my conversations with Al a few weeks ago, I think that people are not alone in feeling certain things in our community, and there just needs to be some voices that come forward and say, "I'm feeling this," and Al, you were not the first one this year, and that was why I roped you in. I said, "Hey, how would you feel if we did a panel, on this?" And so thank you for agreeing to that. It can be a bit of a sticky area because of the spirit of inclusion that this community roots from. We have the most diverse set of gender and sexuality identities than any other community under the rainbow canopy. That's one hell of a community to navigate from my chair. So the conversations can get they can play bumper cars, and nobody's trying to offend. We're all trying to just share the space, and we witnessed what it's like throughout the years when that goes wrong, but we've also witnessed what it's like when it goes right. Those are the moments I like to focus on. And No further ado. I wrote this up, and this came from more than one conversation. But the continuum is you walk out your door each day with your female masculinity super visible. Your energy and presence is transported by way of black leather boots and or some variation of attire that complements your swagger. You feel good, you feel proud, you're daring even that you live your truth as a butch stud, masculine center dyke, lesbian, queer. And then you stop for coffee, and then the person taking your order calls you sir. And you felt visible before that very moment, and suddenly, as your masculinity is automatically assumed to be that of a male, you feel invisible. And we don't get that often, right? Butch folks don't feel invisible too often, but this is a different kind of invisible. And so do you preserve your identity and you correct them on the spot? Or do you just nod, grab your coffee, and go on with your day? And it might feel insignificant because they're strangers, but this is no less erasing than when people that you know, your own community, or even your own partner routinely apply too many layers of maleness over your femaleness. Or worse, many have been encouraged to just transition. Like Butch is some kind of temporary identity on the way to being a male, as though masculinity is owned by the male of our species. It is not, and it doesn't have a pronoun either. And yes, this community embraces a vast diversity of identities. This includes trans folks. Many of the trans men that hang out among us, they grew up in the Butch Femme community and still feel closely connected as family. We spent years, and I mean, I remember these conversations over this last week. A lot of these conversations have been coming back to me, but we spent years building bridges between Butches and trans men. And that alliance is also another part of what separates us from the mainstream L-word community in all our uniqueness. But we also have butch stud masculine of center folks who are male identified or non-binary. And here's the sentence that brings it in right here, is that some folks have been defaulting to he as a pronoun across the board for all masculine identified folks in this community for a long, long time. And the question is, did anybody stop to think about how alienating that kind of pattern was going to be in the future for our proud butch dyke, lesbian, queer, female identified folks that should like to be addressed as she, as a female who only connects intimately and gets down with other females? Let that soak in for a second, because that's important. There is, we could go all the way back to colonization and whatnot, where the binary was put in place, but we got generations and generations of folks who, by default, are wired to see masculinity as male. And when that it goes into many generations, that also means it has soaked into the people of our own community, and this needs to be something that we change, not just from where we're rooting from, but from everywhere our feet walk. That it's okay, and how dare us show up with all this masculinity and still be assigned female at birth. And I guess what I would like to know from your own personal experiences, have you talked to me about your experiences with folks layering over your femaleness with the encouragement of to express yourself as male, or to wipe out your AFAB status? And Al, I want to start with you.
Okay. Well, I been female identified. I got married very young, in my 20s, to a very a femme who pushed me in that direction and started celebrating my butchness to the point where I was passing more and more. I do have a deeper voice, and it was made clear to me by her very directly that if I was less butch, it would make her less femme. And that was really the issue, was that I had to be as butch as possible in order to back up her identity as being a femme.
Interesting.
It was, you know, the idea was, oh, well, if you're this way, then what can I be? I can't be, you know what I mean? It was not, she didn't have her identity on her own. It had to play off of mine.
Like a codependency.
Kind of. Yeah. And so we were married. 10 years seems to be my magic number. So I divorced her, and then married a woman who I thought was a lesbian, turned out to be bisexual, also very feminine. And she pushed me constantly to, it's one of the reasons, I mean, I've always gone by Al to my friends, but she pushed it so much that she didn't want to use my full name ever. And it just kind of fell into habit. And she was thrilled when I passed. That made her very, very happy. She wanted less and less kind of lesbian oriented intimacy and more heteronormative intimacy. And if I didn't play ball, then she would call me by my full name and kind of laugh at me. It became worse and worse and worse. And I mean, I fell into a real pit. She, of course, cheated on me and left me for a man. And then, you know, explained to me, of course, like, why wouldn't she have left me for a man? Because it's such a more valid situation. And then continued to call me by my full name and make fun of me after, you know, we were together for 10 years. And so it was just brutal for me to kind of come to grips. And one of the reasons that she left me was because I kind of shook awake at some point and said, wait a minute, this isn't who I am. And this is not who I want to be. And I'm not trans. I don't want to be, you know, no shade against that, but it just felt like I had been erased. And so I correct in answer to your introduction, Daywalker, I correct every single person every time, whether it's getting coffee, whether I'm out walking my dogs, wherever it is, I correct them, sir. And I said, no, it's ma'am. And they go, oh, I'm like, let me, you know what I mean? I've gone so far as to pull my shirt up. You know what I mean? If I could stop going into the bathroom, I just go here. I'm like, you want to see my, so I have zero problem with correcting it. And I've also fallen in love with a woman who is not a femme. And I can't tell you all how much it means to me to not be with a femme. And I mean, this woman is the love of my life, but if for anything, I would never date a femme again. Never. After the bad experiences I've had, I would never, ever go back to that. This woman that I'm with is a jock. She's not a butch, but she likes all of it. All of it. And
I have a jock X. Okay. I have a jock X, just full disclosure. Yeah, absolutely. You know, the different dynamics that we celebrate as a whole community is also butch, stud. These dynamics are all celebrated and embraced within the full spectrum group. There will be a panel on that. so I'll probably drag you in for that one too.
I'm on board.
So right on. Elandus.
Hey. Well, I appreciate what I'm hearing, one, and two, I'm coming into a situation where I'm realizing that regardless, I'm butch, whether I'm with another person who's butch or not, or femme, and I appreciate your sharing, because that's kind of what I heard. Some of the not being able to be who you are, regardless. You have to have somebody to bounce off of, and that's okay if it works for both people. But I'm understanding myself in a different way, and for a long time, I had to bounce off somebody in order to feel like I was valid, visible, and it had a lot to do with how I was brought up, what I had to do with the Butch that was in me that was like, hey, let me out. So there's that, and the freedom that comes with not needing. I love femmes. I'm gonna say that. I will stand at attention. It's that they're just like I have Butch energy. Well, you have Butch energy. That femme energy just kind of talks to me in a way that I didn't understand until I came completely out and said I'm Butch, and I realized what that meant. That said, I'm single, and that means that means that I am really right there with my my Butchness, even though I don't have anybody to bounce it off of or to say, hey, let's have some fun. And that is the kind of freedom that I can bring into any relationship. I'm saying all this to say I use the pronoun she, but I really don't feel anything if someone, and that used to happen with me even before what I'm about to say used to happen with me even before I felt comfortable being Butch and even had a name for it. They would call me sir or think I was a boy, when I was growing up, that kind of thing. But it doesn't matter what other people, for me, this is me, doesn't matter what other people see when they look at me. And what pronoun to me is more about what they see as opposed to what's in me and what I know is true for me. So that's kind of where I am right now. Well, have been for a while. Being unsure and being in that place where I needed that mirror or bounce off of, put me in some bad situations as far as partners went. I don't have a string of them, but I have a couple of not good experiences that I won't go into. It's not worth
don't we all, right?
I know. That's why I'm all right talking about it a little bit, but I don't
relationships for us, is the dating pool, is only of a certain size, and to me, it's like parallel to trying on outfits. Listen, we've all had our walk out of a house and realize halfway in the middle of the day that what you put on really it ain't right. and maybe we could have rethought that. And, so yeah, there you go. Dapper boy. Yeah. It takes us a while to find the things that we want to wear. And that includes the folks we want to spend our lives with. And so how many of you actually could walk into a dressing room and you've got 20 things with you? You might walk out with one. That's that's the same thing. It's the same thing. So I want to Coyote.
Hi. Oh yeah, hi. I have one story when my bike club rode up to LA to be they wanted girl bikers. So it was Ice-T. They were making some thriller crime movie. Anyway, they told me, they stood us all up on our bikes and they said I wasn't Butch enough. So I was like,
wow.
What?
Wow.
Well, maybe my hair was more like Daywalker's hair at that time. So, they said, I'm not Butch enough. I'm going to go home and shave my head, damn it. I want to be Butch enough.
Yeah, I could never do that.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, I get misgendered every day. And, I say, I correct them or I call them whatever, ma'am, if it's a dude, whatever. And they're always sheepish and they're always apologetic, but maybe they learned something. So I don't know. I'm single. I don't.
Hey,
dated.
no, listen, put it out there. We have dating groups, and we're trying to launch a dating app. So
I'm way too much trouble. I've always been. I've never been really attracted to femmes. I'm more like you said, the jocks. In California, we call them sporty dykes.
There you go. You're in California. Yes.
Sporty dykes, and I like to hang out with the women who want to go play golf, want to go swimming, things like that. And they tend to be more like tomboyish, athletic. So the femme ones, they have they don't want to mess up their hair, their makeup. They don't want to wear
stereotype some people, and you're gonna have some heels in you. I'll tell you what.
I know, right?
No wonder. This is how you get in trouble, right here.
I did date one, and she was high maintenance and expensive, and I'm like.
But if I may, they also have an identity called flannel femme, which might have been more compatible for you.
Yes.
So
I have lots of plans.
I'm just gonna help you out there.
I've learned so much in this group. I learned MOC. I never saw that before the last thread. I had to
Masculine Center. I was coined.
Yeah, it was new.
By, that came from Cole B. Cole during a board meeting for a Butch Voices conference some years back. That is where it was how to cover the breadth of all of us in one term, and that term it got traction and it stuck, and I enjoy using it because it does cover a lot of us. So yeah.
And then you said just about 5 minutes ago another term that I thought was like a feminine masculine or something, like you put them together like a something you said, and I thought that was like an oxymoron, but
I've done that. It wasn't when it was agender or
perhaps it was in that part before you had one feminine term and then masculine term identified. I thought
okay.
Wait.
yeah because I have a lot of check boxes for my identity. And it's important. Those check boxes, the multiple choice is important.
Every day there's a new checkbox to do. I mean, it's every day.
And
one day
I expected to hear that from somebody who is 6 to 7 decades into their life. I expect to hear that. I've been hearing that from y'all for about 10 years now. It's like, when is it going to stop? Some of these terms.
Remember Friends of Dorothy, and that covered everything.
Yeah. Some of these terms are new, and some of them are antique and being brought back. So not all of them are new, but agender has been around for a long, long time, and it's just somebody who basically does. I don't sit in the chair from line up over here for the girls, line up over here for the boys. I wait for a third line, and that's me. So
I remember being as old as I am, there was a time in the 70s, late 60s, the lesbian separatists, and they all moved to Eugene, Oregon. I thought, Eugene, Detroit. I mean, that's like completely what? So I went to Eugene and I loved it up there, and I had to come home and shit. But yeah, lesbian separatists, that was a whole nother thing. I don't know if they're still hiding out there.
I've lost count of how many feminist waves we've got, and each one of them seems to put rumble strips right in front of us.
Right.
So it's crazy. Michou?
I quit that. Yeah, when they kicked out the people's little 12-year-old sons, you had to leave. So I thought that's not legit. So I had to get out of it.
Michou, I want to hear from you.
What do you want to hear?
Your experiences in having folks either of the community or of your own life or whatnot who have a tendency to drape a lot of maleness over your femaleness in order to acknowledge your masculinity where it's comfortable for them to do so.
So pretty much my entire life, I've been actually beaten up and harassed. When I was a young kid, I got a lot of physical trauma from people who were really confused and offended by my presence because I was a girl that looked like a boy, basically, completely. And I was harassed and beaten until I was old enough to start lifting weights. I started going to the gym and lifting weights and doing anything physical I could when I was 13. And people have always asked me, do you use steroids? Have you taken hormones? Why is your voice so deep? Why do you have big muscles? Why are you so masculine? And I was born this way. Like I literally was born like this. I've never taken tea. I've never wanted to be trans, but there was a time in my life when I was super young that I wondered, like, wow, like I would look at my face in the mirror and just be like, how am I born in this body of being female? But this though, like it confounded my mind for a long time, and it really caused a lot of trauma with me. And I think a lot of it was that it wasn't just me having confusion about my appearance, but the people around me. I felt their shame because I have a lot of intuitive, qualities. So I would go into a room and people would be ashamed for me. They'd be confused and awkward, and it would be this gross feeling of like, oh, I feel so sorry for you. Look at this girl who's a boy. Like, you're gonna grow up with a horrible life. So the whole stigma around being a woman who looks like a man has been to give us shame for being this way, when actually in most cultures, being this way is actually a gift. You're a special person to be born with both genders. You're powerful. A lot of people are shaman this way. A lot of people are healers. There are all these different people who are gifted to be.
But in the U.S., we're deviants, right?
Yeah. No, two-spirit.
You're laughed at. You're like, you're not good enough. You have to be, for the culture, you have to be female or male, clearly, because it makes everyone else comfortable.
Right.
This is the work, folks, though. This is the rub. The work that we have to do, that I have personally to do, and I can give love to everyone who chooses their choices as their own person, but my personal choice has been to gloriously and gracefully love myself to the highest extent possible as this person in my female body, as masculine as I am, to teach the world that there is not male and female only. There's so many beautiful areas in between, and that's where you have to do the work and really accept yourself. So being butch, there's nothing wrong with being butch. You're not less than. You're not like, but all my life people have been like, oh, you're a trans, you're this, you're that. And why is it so hard to just accept the fact that I'm happy to be, in fact, the best part of who I am is that I'm female this way. And that's the best part for me. And it makes me so happy that I have been my 52-year-old self all my life and have remained myself through the storms of people really pressuring because it made them uncomfortable that I prize the fact that I have a vagina. Very, very frankly, yes, I do. And that I'm happily with a beautiful femme that knows how to be with me and my vagina. And it's fucking amazing because literally when you do that work, folks, geez, it's beautiful. The life is beautiful. Like, and I'm going to go out into the world and I'm going to teach everywhere that I go that, you know what, like, be yourself, have pride. Being butch, that's badass. Like, if you're born masculine, own that shit, rock it. Women love it. People love it. Now when I correct people, as I do, Al, I heard you say I correct people wherever I go. My entire life has been the same way. I've been thrown out of women's bathrooms trying to correct people. They didn't want to see what I had downstairs, though. They're like, when I went for the pants, it was here comes security, so it was time to go. Like, they weren't wanting to see what I had downstairs. But I'll tell you, when people find out that you're female, I feel this sigh of relief of like, wow, that's really cool. Good for you. They're like, that's awesome. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. It's like this whatever it is. I don't know if it's just gratitude for my honesty or whatever it is, but I think that there's been so much stigma with people being butch women for so long that as we come up into our lives as young butches or whatever, and then we're really met with a lot of pressure to transition because it's clearly visibly, we should have some sort of gender dysphoria to be this masculine or this kind of presentation, but the work should be now of appreciating people for how they are and not having shame around being masculine and female, but celebrating that shit and showing what it's supposed to be like. You're not supposed to be one or the other. You're supposed to be yourself.
I need to interject something as the audience. People don't understand the Q&A option.
I don't think I activated it.
Well, there's no way for people to speak and ask questions, so we should turn that part on so people can like.
All right, let me see if I got a set. Let me check my settings. Let me see Q&A. Oh, Q&A. Oh, look here. I've never used this one before, so let's check that out. Please read. Okay, let me see.
That's for the panelists to respond to.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me see. There's two of them up here. Answer live or type answer. So I guess the settings is what I need to allow anonymous questions and allow attendees to view all questions. Attendees can, okay.
Yeah, there's a few people.
Can comment. Okay, I think the settings for that may be open now. Let me find out. Let me see.
Michou, I have to tell you, I appreciate your guns, dude. I appreciate Thank
The guns, these are sleepy guns right now. I haven't been in the gym for a while. The guns are up here now.
And I appreciate the Valentine's card that you sent me last year.
Oh, I got a big heart for you, my friend. Big heart.
Oh my God, I could have kicked your ass. I'm like, what in the fuck is Michou doing to me?
Big old card too. I'm like, see, this is Butch crushes within the community. We can crush on each other like that with friends.
Don't blow me up like that. Don't blow me up like that.
We can do that. You know,
You gotta keep
I'm
that
feeling
private.
super gay today,
I'm
and
like,
it's because of all
Michou.
you.
No, I'm not like Michou, right? Guns, Michou.
Yes, I'm like, yes, that's the one.
I'm like, oh, me and Michou gonna have a long talk.
So, where did Al go? I lost Al.
Yeah,
Let me see. Do I have? Is it open now for our Q&A? Can we test? Is there a way to test that? I think.
Someone ask a question and let's find out.
Can the audience speak
Someone from
now?
our studio audience, ask a question.
Oh wait! Hands up! There's a hands thing.
That's,
Oh, cool. All right. Let's
Let me
do it.
see. Somebody's
okay,
got.
that's me. I wanted to say
Oh! I see.
stuff out.
Let me see. Oh, let me scroll down. Look, wow, that's a lot of stuff that's been taped. I am so sorry, y'all. There's another whole window with chat where our audience has been.
Utilize your film is what I have to say here. Utilize your film.
All right, here we go. We have Deb to the host of panelists. Are y'all seeing our conversation here in chat? Yes, we in fact we now are. So and thank you. And let me see. I was going to activate this for the Stone community conversation coming up in February, and then we were going to host a Q&A at the end of the conversation. And so I don't know if everybody's comfortable just taking them at random, or if you want them at the end, if there's an order and a flow you prefer. My big thing was getting this conversation to the front. And I'm bringing female identified Butch MOC folks to the front. So I wasn't going into the details of what could happen when we actually get an audience. So,
I would like the panel to read the chat.
yeah, if you guys get a chance in the middle of things, there's a little window called chat. If you want to look at that and you want to field a question that are coming from folks, just jump in, and that's what I just said. They've been in here talking, and we're just going on about ourselves. And by the way, I watched our transcript take the word butchness and turn it into business. I just thought the irony of that was just hilarious. You know, like, well, our live transcript can't even say butchness. Look at it, just did it again. It changed it over to business. So I don't know. There was something. There's something erasing about that. Now this is actually a heavier topic than what I'm kind of putting up front on here. There has been some really intense waves through this community in the past. And I'm 56, so I've been with this community for over 20 years, and I like to participate in the threads and things. I like to participate in the conversations because most of my knowledge comes from the community, about the community, and so there has been a fine line between promoting your pride in being female identified Butch MOC folks, and being called out as anti-trans for that, which is really difficult because to me it's almost a distraction from the point we're walking into the room with. There's no interchangeability here, so there really shouldn't be the kind of reactions we're seeing from some. And we had one really young person get into our she's got her ice machine. we've got one really young person get into the conversation that we had on the feed the other day, the group feed, and they did something that I called "That's So 3 years ago," and they ran behind a lot of people's comments and called them all transphobic. And I did close the comments because that is a perfect example of what happens when we stand in our own space with pride and trying to work through something and embracing our entire community. We still need to speak from our own space like everybody else gets to. But it seems that there are times when if a butch speaks up about their pride in being female identified, that somehow gets brought over to to offensive to a trans person, and there should be absolutely nothing that equates those and parallels that. It's not the same thing. You are proud of yourself. We're proud to share space with our trans family. I fucking love my trans family. I'm a bearded butch, but I would never take up space in the trans identity canopy because that's not my space to take or to have. And so I remain in the butch space. And I want people to be able to feel safe in this community, expressing themselves without being distracted by somebody's itinerary that to look deeply for some sort of transphobic remarks out of our own self-expression. And everybody I've got on screen right now, I know for a fact embraces everything about everybody that we embrace within this community. And it's really difficult from my chair to watch this happen to people because I'm the moderator, I'm the admin, I'm the one who's supposed to be trying to help navigate the conversation. And when I do see a knee-jerk reaction sometimes, and that's difficult. And so I guess what I was rolling into was, how many of y'all have been called out as an anti-trans person for expressing your, there it is, for expressing your truth in your own space? Coyote, you want to talk about that first?
Sure. I don't know if anyone else is in Southern California, but we have our gay center, which I call the gay center. It's called the LGBTQ blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I've worked there for years, you know, front desk, volunteer, family matters, all the different departments. And currently I'm a volunteer for the IT lady. Anyway, over the years, I've seen the lesbian and woman, primarily lesbian, dropped from the vernacular in favor of woman so that it is more inclusive. However, I feel erased, and I brought it up. I go, how come you guys don't have lesbian things anymore, lesbian events? And because we're inclusive now. Well, you just excluded us. I mean, that was my perception. And I got, it's transphobic. And so what happened was it's like an underground of butches in San Diego, and we only talk to each other and we don't express ourselves in our community because you will get called out as a transphobic. And some of the women are maybe a little bit more toward the Michigan Women's Music Festival kind of woman. And then some of them are like me, like, can I just be, you know, embrace my dykehood, my butchiness without being called out, and I'm not bringing anybody else down. You know, to me, trans men are men, and that was like punched into my head. We're men. We have men brains. We were born and misgendered at birth. Okay, I respect that. You're men. Well, you're using your male privilege on your sisters in the LGBT community. And it just feels uncomfortable to me. And you know, we kind of keep it on the down low because it is such a controversial thing here. On the other hand, someone was talking about how we should call like butches he's. on the men's side, when they have drag queens, they all refer to them as she. I mean, it's like the main drag queen in San Diego, Nicole, everyone calls him she. I don't, but you know, it's just he's a drag queen, not trans. So, but
there is a tendency for folks to blend the two. Yes. And always, and just a tip for everybody out there, if you're unsure of somebody's pronoun, ask them or use their name. I mean, right out of the box, you know, ask them what their pronoun is or use their name. Don't default to they, because there's room for the binary and non-binary among us. But defaulting to they was the first instructions given. And I'm a they, but I don't agree with it. I agree with ask them. And if you uncomfortable asking, then during your correspondence or engagement with that person, use their name. I think I just wanted to put that note in there right quick.
But I go by she, her, ella, which is Latino or Latinx, whatever. And I never know anymore. Latinx, Filipinx, lesbianx. I don't know.
I had made a statement. I made a statement at the end of one of my rambles, and it was that making room is how we evolve. Making way is how we dissolve. And making room means we get to add to the list. We're going to add to our identities list. We are not going to. Nobody should take a hit on their identity so that there could be room for another one. Nobody should have the L taken out and replaced with something. They should just be added. This is inclusion. This is diversity. This is how we evolve. If we're just standing there and we just step aside and we're just making way, we're not making room. Making way means you feel defeated and you're just going to make way for whatever the future is bringing, whatever. And you have all of these words walking right by you. I'm not a believer in that. I'm a believer in making room.
It's dismissive.
And people have been dismissive to themselves during this and questioning, oh my God, is my term antiquated now? You're damn right. And that's good because it shows history. And now the history between the mainstream L word community and the Butch Femme was not always pretty. It was, we were partitioned off because we needed to make room for a lot of masculine identities and whatnot to come through. And because we were shunned for the dynamic itself, not for being Butch or Femme, but for the dynamic itself. The dynamic of Butch Femme love was immediately correlated to heteronormative. Like we were copying them. And this, so lest we not forget that the reason why we came about was because of the tendency to shame us for our presentation, for ourselves, for our born selves. And but at the same time, the L word community is where we derived from. So for me, there is the recognition of both aspects. But I would never want to see the L word taken out completely or making way for other identities when it is one of the oldest terms out there. I don't identify with it. When I was a child, I heard the word. And
what word are we on?
Lesbian. Lesbian.
Oh.
And I thought that sounded to me. It sounded as a child. It sounded like something I needed to take antibiotics for. It didn't sound right. I'm like, well, So I've always I'm gay. I'm super gay. And on some days I can be flamboyant, but I embrace the term just gay. I think one of the reasons why I don't use the alphabet letters to represent all of us is because there's a lot of us in our community that are not accounted for in those letters. And at the same time, I believe in rainbow canopy. then there's we can stop adding pluses to the end, and we stop adding letters to the end, and we just take one term and embrace everybody like that. But lesbian should not be put aside and replaced, or lesbian should not have to take a hit for other identities to exist. Al, you want to speak on that?
Yeah, actually, I've been really pretty frustrated with that. It seems like lesbians are in the background now. We're automatically for being. I've been told, because I'm proud to be a lesbian, that I'm a TERF. I've been.
There you go.
God forbid you come out with the term for feminist, right?
I have been told. I mean, and lesbian is being watered down now. You have people that are claiming to be lesbian that aren't. You know, oh, I'm a lesbian except for my husband. I'm like, that's not what a lesbian is. You know, and then they say, well, don't gatekeep my identity. And I'm like, look, damn it, I fucking worked really hard. I lost everything I ever worked for twice for being who I am. I've been, you know, ostracized by my own community, tried to be turned into a man by my own community and the world. I actually had a friend who asked me my pronouns, and when I told her what they were, she said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm always just going to see you as a man. You know,
Wow.
This is after growing up and being said, oh, are you gay because you're too ugly to get a man? Is that what it is? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's enough. And it feels like lesbians are just being erased and butches are just being erased. I've been called a TERF also because I have lamented the shrinking of the butch community and the expansion of the trans male community. And the two things have happened simultaneously. And I've said, man, I really miss the butch community. Oh, you're a TERF. How can you say that? I'm like, can I not support someone's decision to be their best self and also be sad that all my butch sisters seem to be gone? I think that sucks for me. You know, I mean, to not have that around, you know what I mean? And to be lectured. I've been told by some of the young, you know, women that I'm talking about that, you know, have their boyfriends, but still consider themselves gay and, you know, and all this sort of, that I am obsolete, that the word butch is obsolete, that the word lesbian is obsolete. I'm like, I'm so fucking offended. Would they say that to a gay man? They wouldn't.
Right.
You know, once again, it's women's being pushed to the side, butches being pushed to the side, and under the guise of being more woke. I'm like, I exist, but now I've just been passed over in a different way, and it sucks. And people are like,
Well,
but I'm trying to respect your
I may.
identity. I'm like, yeah, sorry.
Somebody doesn't know what TERF is. They're actually.
Oh, yeah, we try not to give. This is for the audience. We try not to give too much platform space or inches of our mind, time, and energy to trans exclusionary radical feminists. That's what TERF means. Somebody in the audience is asking.
Sorry.
That is one hell of a rabbit hole. I've been down it several times because I am the bouncer at the door. As far as all membership has to come through me for our groups. So I have to know what I'm looking at when I vet profiles. And I have to know when I'm at the gate who I need to be careful not to let into our space. It needs to remain safe. And so for the audience, we can cover that all on another panel. But that is what the term means. It basically means anti-trans. So yeah, it got turned into that to the word TERF. So that was
it's also insulting when people say, expressing the same sentiment as Al, that, oh, you're a boomer, you're all gonna die soon, so then it won't matter. I'm like,
oh, I know that.
yeah,
right?
so we're old, so you know we don't what we think is obsolete, and we're gonna die soon, and then they'll own the world. I'm like,
you know, one of the fears that I've watched from my chair is, you know, look at people on the screen. We have ages 50 and up, and are the younger generations embracing the term butch or stud? We know stud is alive and well out there, which is, you know, derives from the BIPOC community, Black, Hispanic folks, and this is still alive and well, and because it was a term that was comfortable for other folks, but at the same time we have masculine of center, and as that catches traction, we get that. But are there folks in their 20s out there embracing the term butch in all its glory, or are they looking at a lot of other terms such as queer, gender queer, gender fluid, which to me, I sometimes use gender fluid is just a description that lets you know it's somebody rides a lot of lines in their daily presentation of themselves. I've had somebody younger actually come to me and ask, well, how do we know if you're butch? And I say it's an energy. It is an
vibe.
energy. You present with that energy, and it's not about just the wallet coming off your chain coming off your wallet, and the short buzz cut. Because if we strip everybody down naked and they get up first thing in the morning and you stand on that ground, your feet hit that ground, how do you identify when you're naked? Without all of your leather and your boots and your all that, where is your energy at in that moment? Are you still, when your feet hit the ground, a masculine person when you wake up, no matter what you're draping on you for presentation? And they actually they appreciated that analogy, because I'm like, and I hated to do it, but I said, who are you when you're naked? Because this matters. And I'm a naked, shy person, so I didn't like the analogy myself, but it was the only way in that moment I could explain to them how they know if they're butch. If you wake up that way, with that energy, without your boots on, that's how you know.
It is an energy. It's your essence.
It is. It is. So, I generally have a lot of questions and notes written down, and I navigate to these conversations that way. But what I'd like to do right now is turn it to the panelists themselves, because this is about your experiences, and I want you each to give some thought to what you really would like to see come from panels like this one, what you envision and what your expectations or hopes might be for these conversations. We will be doing a 2.0 and a 3.0 on this, but I want to know from y'all what would you like to see happen with these conversations. Elandus, I'm gonna start with you.
Okay. One of the things that I am sitting here enjoying is, even though it's vicariously or Zoom or whatever, it's not like right here, being in the energy of other butch females. I have missed that. I came out in the 90s. And it took me 10 years to go back and reclaim my butch little kid who was running around being called names because I didn't fit the female. I didn't like petticoats. I didn't play with dolls. There were a lot of things. So it took me, so let's just say late 90s, I came out as butch and was immediately received by a butch community in Richmond, Virginia. I lived in Maryland at that time. And it was so validating and empowering, because they were older than I was, to be around these women and be accepted by them, and learn from them. I remember going and realizing that I didn't fit in a dress or even female pants. So one of my butch friends took me and said, I'm going to show you where to go, where you can go. And I was like so nervous. I was somebody's going to hit me in the head, if I go across this line and start looking for men's clothes to fit me. And she said, come on. And I went in and she just kind of said, here, here, here. I learned how to pick out. I learned how to say what I wanted to the salesperson. This is all the stuff I learned in that encounter. And I'm saying this because I think the young people who are butch, because I don't think we're dying out, don't have that because we're not as visible. But I'm going to go.
I should like to put together a guidance panel, by the way, because we are missing that. There's a huge intergenerational gap right now because of this. So
yes, and I learned how to just own my butch identity wherever I was and whoever I was talking with. That just turned into a whole community of people that I drove like a couple of hours just to go and hang out with over the weekend. And we would sit around and smoke cigars. I like smoking cigars still. Don't have any cigar buddies, but I do. And
I just say that's sexy as hell.
I'm watching Coyote sit over there squirming, going, I don't need a cigar right now.
Smoke break. Smoke break. I was thinking of weed, actually.
Okay, so yeah, right. We got a lot of thumbs up there for the weed. And as one of my check boxes is hippie, and living in Mendocino County within the Emerald Triangle, weed is a way of life around here, literally. So, yeah, yeah. That Elandus, thank you for that share, because that means a lot. That what we are missing, and the reason why we see a lot of toxic masculinity coming from some of our youth is because the guidance and the mentorship that they're missing has them looking towards the male of our species for it, and that's not going really well for them. So, yes, Al.
Just as a quick thing, when I came out, and I've always wanted to be a mentor because I had a butch that I knew, total like dyke on bike, like full leather, cool ass chick, pulled me aside and saw that I was butch and said, come on, and gave me butch lessons. This is how you shine your boots. This is how you treat a woman. That's just how you keep your nails. Let me see your nails. Those aren't good enough. This is how you take care of yourself. And it was really cool. And I was also very blessed. My mom's crazy in a lot of ways, but I had my first suits when I was 15. I said, I want to wear this. She said, okay, she wanted to make sure that I didn't look like bad. So she went and had me fitted, made sure that, everything matched. And, so that was a non-issue, but I did have that butch mentor, and it meant the world to me. And I've always wanted to give back in that way, but I feel like there's not an avenue. So sorry to interject, but
yeah, no, do not interject. I mean, this is all part of it. Okay, there does seem to be a missing platform in there, and I talked about this on our intergenerational panel, and I went looking for some elders, and frankly, I had some roadblocks because it was a couple of them I became really disenchanted with for different reasons, and I thought, what the hell? I thought, I was looking towards people that were elders that I was holding in high regard, and well, I got put on pause, and so my search is still on. So I thank you for stepping up on that, because I'll when I put out a call for that panel, I still want to do it.
I just use you, Al.
So yeah, Michou, do you remember the question?
I wanted to speak to what you said about what you want to see, but I also want to tie it into what's being said about mentorship and about how basically, having someone. I also had like a host of older butches in San Francisco when I was in my 20s, in the 90s, take me and show me the ropes and thrift stores and the whole thing. And I grew up pretty much in the Castro like that, but the mentorship was important, and that's been lacking for years. It's been lacking for 20 years. And because the reason I personally feel is that there is no pride in being what people see as you're an anomaly. Like, no one appreciates being this way because it's a hard life to live. Like, you're not supposed to stay like that and have comfort in your life. You're supposed to be miserable or transition, basically. Those are your choices. And so what I want to see, what you asked, like, what do you want to see going forward, basically, is people like ourselves basically stepping up and being mentors, and also looking into, like, if you go into Reddit, there's an entire host of communities. I don't know if you people use Reddit or not, but there's a detrans community that's happening that's huge, of people who have transitioned and are now realizing that they didn't want to do that. And there's nothing, they're having these moments of realization that they're not what they thought that they were, and there's nothing to catch them on the other side. So someone needs to step up and there's no community here for butch women or for masculine women or masculine people who are wanting to stay female or who have been trans and now coming back out of that, realizing that, hey, guess what? When I transitioned at 17, that was a bad idea. Now I'm 25 and I don't want to be trans anymore because I'm having dreams that I'm a woman and I'm happy the way that I am in my body as I am. And so people,
I'm going to interject real quick. I did, in fact, catch down some of my rabbit holes where these people were being caught, and I didn't like it. I put up a thread. Again, it's not the same. This is why I'm doing these panel discussions now. It's not the same. Right. I did put in a couple of threads on detransitioning and how we need for folks to know we are here for their support, and they should come to us, and they should not go to the anti-trans folks who are just going to use them to further their crusading platforms that are ridiculous. And those, that has been a problem. I've watched that happen. I've watched the only people who they knew to go back to were the anti-trans folks, and it's not okay, right? And it needs to be known that yes, that this community is here to catch them and be supportive.
Exactly.
And we're solid.
And at the same time, share the space with our trans folks who are authentically living their lives.
Exactly. If you want to be trans, then please be trans. But
this is part of what we do, is sharing space with each other, not to cancel each other out, but to count each other in.
Right. So going forward, what I want to see is people finding a way to love and appreciate themselves as they are, because that is setting an example for being proud to be who you are as you are. And that is something that's very powerful and necessary. Loving yourself as you are. No one taught us how to do this, especially not as a butch woman or a masculine centered person. And so it's really, the work becomes loving yourself and setting an example for the people behind us that are doing the same thing. No one taught us how to do this. We were shamed. We are all these ostracized things and shut out of all the communities because we're ashamed. So we bring shame into a circle. If we don't appreciate ourselves, we're those people that are like, oh, you're the butt of the joke. Oh, you're a butch, you're this and that. Well, go ahead and make fun of me right now. Make fun of who I am. Go ahead. What are you going to stab at? You have nothing. I've been butch my entire life. I've built my life around being the person that I am because I didn't want to be stepped on anymore. I don't want to be picked on anymore because there's nothing wrong with me. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with any of you awesome people that are on this thing, or anyone who's watching who's butch, or who's going to be watching this who's butch. Nothing's wrong with you. You're beautiful as you are. If you choose to be a man, go be the best man ever. But if you choose to be butch and be female this way, there are so many people who will love you as you are. Like, there's so many people who are going to be so excited to meet you, be with you, get to know you. And even if there's not, you're going to get to know you and love you. Own it, rock it, live it, be it. That's it. That's all you can do.
I can attest to the fact that there are people out there that will love you very, very much. Us femmes, honey, we love y'all.
You couldn't help yourself, could you?
I have my girlfriend sitting right here, my fiance, actually. There's a leak. There's a little leak.
I've been dating for 18 years. I ain't going nowhere, but I can appreciate.
Well, thank you so much.
I have actually referred to the F2RB, the Femmes, for that particular dynamic, Butch Femme. There are folks who are actually born enchanted. And this is what I mean by the Femmes who embrace the Butch Femme dynamic. They are born enchanted because they're born and wired to be attracted to and spend their lifetime with folks like us. Yes. And so that makes you, so I call them enchanted. And so, all right, then settle down over there. So, and a quick note. I will do better in the future on keeping track of the chat, which I think has been pretty active over here. And I want to thank somebody, I think Deb, for coming and sharing a lot of stuff. The chat is being recorded, so it will show up on my upload. Okay, but I wanted. Look at somebody says, "Yay! I just realized I'm enchanted." Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I want you guys to know that I went and harvested fairies, and let me explain that. Okay. We had messages in the bottles that when we handed out at a gathering that we had to reschedule, and I went and hand harvested through thorns and whatnot. The kind of, you blow the fairies into the wind, those fairies. And I came home with a bag of them, and that is what is being put into these bottles for femmes to receive a wish for themselves, and one bottle extra they give to a sister that they want to have a wish. And this was just a little idea for femme bonding that we had on that side. But as a butch, I thought, my wife said, "Oh, we can buy this." I said, "No." So I went out and lost my shoes in the mud on a lake bed. I literally lost them 2 feet down in the mud and had to put my feet out. I went and put myself on a line and harvested fairies by hand, 40 F2RB. And I just want you guys to know that. So
they're dandelions.
Whatever.
Yeah, I remember you would pick one.
All right. So I believe we have. Yeah. So I think Coyote, we haven't heard from your visions for the future. Where
What was the question?
67.
I 5 minutes ago. I forgot already.
It was my whole spiel on turning this to the panelists and asking them, what is your expectations of conversations as these? What would you like to see in the future happen out of them, etc.
I would like to see your group ban the words transphobe and turf.
Well, we'll work on that. I do have keyword alerts come up when those come up so that I can go watch the conversation. That's as best as I've gotten. But I don't give a lot of space on our group feed to those words and those conversations because that's our safe space.
It just takes one, though. It just takes one to ruin
and it did
your
take
whole
one.
day.
And what happened to them? I immediately shut down those comments. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. But I mean, for the community as a whole, not just the groups, because as was mentioned, there are other platforms. I wished I had the time to go cruising through, such as Reddit, that have, I mean, there's a collective of social media out there, and if you was to have these conversations, be able to be available to the collective, what would you like to see as far as what would you call success of these conversations? What does that look like to you when you at the end of the day?
I've really never been successful talking about this issue with young trans community people or anyone in their 20s. They just have a whole different mind. So I don't know. We need to learn how to have conversations about maybe generational issues or whatever, but these millennials and Gen Zs, they're brutal.
Elandus and I are actually talking about that on the podcast. Are we not, Elandus?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
And we invite all of you to join in on that, by the way. There is
Yes.
a way. We were going to learn how to talk to each other, damn it. Yeah.
Yes, learn how to communicate with everybody. Like, I have trouble sometimes with white women in my community, and they just don't get it. They just don't get their privilege. Or when I try to explain, well, did you get followed around Walmart all the time, or and they just what? That's so maybe around intersectionality or
right. Michou, I saw your hand go flying across the screen.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Day. I think to talk or speak to Coyote's or to add to Coyote's awesome points, I feel like part of that is the being triggered aspect, which is like that. And when speaking something that is affecting your emotional reactions, to just be like, I got to talk about this and I got to speak to this and I got to call out what I see that's wrong, that the person's cue to go within and ask, why does it fuck you up so much? Pardon my French. Why is it so harmful to you to hear that? And why does it make you want to call someone out as wrong or inappropriate or exclusionary or whatever the hell that is triggering you? These are the areas of opportunity to expand and evolve from, because this is not working. The reaction of the younger set is because they've been coddled and held for so long, they don't know how to deal with what is upsetting to them. No one ever taught them how to have things that are coming across them that are upsetting, how to deal with that, how to weather that kind of stuff, or how to make space for what you don't understand. That's not something for the younger set to understand. So we have to teach them. Thanks, man. We have to teach them. So it's we are the mentors again. Like we're the teachers, we're the examples. So lead by example, set space. When someone acts out and is shitty to us in our comments, we educate with love, grace, respect, patience, all the things, right? Like we're the example. So we have to rise above and not react to it, but come back with love and say, look, there's room for all of us. Why does this trigger you so bad? Do your work and stay in your lane. And ask yourself, why is it upsetting to you? This is the breaking down of what it's going to take to make other people, not make other people, but to show the importance of opening your mind, expanding your consciousness to have space for everybody who's in the world like that, for all of us, right?
Right. And not everybody is going to vibe. That doesn't mean we can't coexist. And that's the important part as well. I do want to make note that some of the things that Elandus and I were touching on is the why, ask why, and what we should ask why of ourselves first. Yeah. And we need to change the default reaction to somebody who is asking you of yourself. And because I think there's been a tendency to feel like they're going to take that information for exclusion, to filter you, or to use it as a weapon against you once you disclose, answers to their questions. And there has to be a trend towards not defaulting to that. And because when somebody has stepped up to ask you about yourself, knowing that they could be getting somebody on the other end who's going to be triggered by that, think about the courage it took for them to know that and still ask. And we want to respect that, because at this point they put a lot of trust in your answers, and shown you a lot of respect by asking you. I'm sure that their expectation isn't that you're going to be the know-all or end-all, but on a personal basis, they just felt comfortable enough to present a question. And that takes courage nowadays, does it not?
Can I interject just one thing from the audience?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you for that. A nice topic would also be how we can communicate as a couple, whether actions always work better than words, or do words matter at times.
I have my wife take notes on a lot of things here. First of all, I just want to say that we could talk all day, could we not?
I could.
Yeah.
Chargers at 1:00. My football team playing today.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Without even knowing what time it was, I want to continue to do these panels and cover. I literally have a list of topics that I want to bring and call panelists in on, and I want to take those topics and bring them all to a 2.0 and a 3.0 and a 4.0 and continue to talk about these things, not just once and drop a video and then walk away, but it needs to be, we need to stay on top of it, and the groups take up a lot of my time, and that's volunteerism. Okay, but that is a lot to maintain, and I thought, well, one day I'll want to do this particular venture. If I had waited until I had the time, this would never have launched. And I absolutely am having to learn how to, but the benefits of it is what caused this. The benefits of these conversations made it worth giving up a little more of my time elsewhere and allotting it towards my passion, which is in my head. I want to get a bus. I want to paint it. I want to turn it into a traveling thing. I want to stop town to town and have in-person, live, raw, and uncensored panels. But I'll do Zoom for now. So, but I've been on about this for 20 years. This is what I've been wanting to do. Our main group is just about 23,000 members. And then we have our affiliated groups. we probably got a combined 30,000. This community is not going away. The Butches are not extinct. They're not everywhere though. So so to those who think that we're antiquated, yes, we are, because we bring history. To those who think we're disappearing, no, we're not. We just spread out, and if we was to pull all of these social media Butch areas together, you would see this huge circle. So no, we are not going extinct whatsoever.
I do want to say I have all your names down in my notebook as mentors, panelists, and
Panelists.
Panelists. Sorry. Panelists and future.
Panelists.
Have you guys met my wife? so yeah.
Most of them have.
I guess I love that this was mostly improv. I didn't give anybody a heads up as to any of the content of this. Nobody practiced ahead their answers. And the impromptu comes from the soul. And with that said, I'm going to close this session up here and give everybody time to marinate some, and we'll reopen it again. And hopefully I can fix the whole Facebook stream thing, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to upload it anyway. But I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my big gay soul. Look at the puppy.
He's saying hi.
For taking part today, because it really meant the world. Yeah, Al?
Yeah.
Any of y'all that want to add me on Facebook, please do. I'd like to stay in contact with all of y'all.
Same here too. Please.
Same
add me.
here.
Absolutely.
Same here.
Yeah.
Contact with you.
Hey, psst, psst.
In fact, anyone.
Honey, we're still in session. So but I truly think that if we can continue to do these kinds of things, we will actually make a bigger difference than we can in a group on Facebook. No matter how many people are there, it's going to still be a private conversation in the groups because of the settings. This will be out there for all folks, and we want to just continue to keep this itinerary going because elevating our visibility and brings relevance. It is currency for the future.
Is your podcast on Spotify?
It's on. You can get it on Apple, iTunes, and Blog Talk Radio, and you can get it through my website.
What's it called?
Yeah, can you put a link on the chat?
Sure. Illusion of Difference. I as creator, and we have different topics based.
There is a link actually in the featured section of the main group. You can go to the featured section, and you will see a link to the podcast that we did a week or two ago. So yeah.
And we got another one coming up tomorrow.
That's right.
But I just want to say real quick, and I hope I don't forget what I was going to say. I think I have.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
My fault.
Hey, Dave. Next time, can we talk about how I've had many people in the community tell me that Butch is equated to non-binary, and I've been told that by some of the millennials. I've been told that it's the same thing, and I have respectfully, as Michou said, tried to engage, and it's like hitting my head against a brick wall.
It is not the same because Butch encompasses both binary and non-binary. It just depends on somebody's views and how they feel about social constructs and being held to those. And that really, we can talk about it. We're going to, we'll start the next one off with that, okay? Because I feel like that needs to be said. We got a lot of younger folks that are trying to put some milk in their cereal, but they're overpouring. Okay,
when we were young too, and we tried.
That's right. But I want the United States is really far behind, embarrassingly so, on all things gender, and you know, there are areas in this world that got a grasp on that don't even have highways in their cities. So I just want to say that part of this ignorance that comes, and ignorance not being a bad word, it just means we need work somewhere.
Yeah.
It's part of the ignorance that comes from some of the conversations is the fact that Western civilization can get somebody to the moon but can't seem to talk about gender correctly. So yeah, we will address non-binary and Butch starting off on the next one.
Can I say I appreciate Michou reminding us to be patient? We do. We have to be patient because the topics, they're just, oh my God.
They're so layered.
They are layered.
We're a complicated people.
Yeah, and the gaps in the generation are vast, you guys. So thank you for that reminder, Michou, because being a participant in the groups, monitoring them, I lose my patience a lot.
Yes, that's why I do most of the moderation.
I don't want to give that extra step because we've been giving it so long, but we do have to step back, be the adults, be the elders in the community.
Good night from Brussels. Hey, look at y'all. We had somebody from Brussels watching in.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Thank you. For me,
That's pretty cool.
Or, you know, my butches, my family for participating.
My butch.
Y'all made me cry a few times. So I love you all.
And you made me feel super gay and super proud today.
You are super good.
Let's imagine me twirling for just a second. There's like glitter flying off me and shit. So
I think I still have some for you here, man.
oh yeah,
Water
that's
oil.
right. You're a fan of glitter. I love diamond. Have you tried diamond dust yet? Now that's some good stuff.
No.
Look. Okay, I gotta do it.
Where?
Look at it. Look, you see this rock? Watch when it.
Yep.
This thing is full of its own natural glitter. Glitter comes natural. I'm just want to say.
Beautiful. It's Mardi Gras season here, and I'm gonna be coated in glitter nonstop till March. So yeah.
And
Hey, do you go to Oz? Al, you go to Oz?
I like Bourbon Pub better for dancing, but yeah, I do go to Oz.
Oh, because I got a buddy there. He.
Let me end the panel so you guys can talk about
well, okay.
dancing together.
Sorry.
I'm gonna end the panel. I'll upload this so everybody can get a piece of it. And when I get it uploaded to the YouTube and I post it in the group, I will tag you all in case anybody has questions. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Jay.
you, everybody.
Daywalker.
Love
Love
y'all,
you.
and thank you to the folks who watched on.